it here. The reason why the car here is this car was went through a refurbished, I won't say a restoration, more of a cosmetic, because the car had been put up for about 17 to 18 years. So the car had to be freshened, it had to have its fluids drained, and everything had to be gone through to make sure that the car was roadworthy again, so on and so forth. Don't get me wrong, this car was not stuck in the old proverbial barn with dirt floors and chicken coops. This car was actually stored in a boat rack where they stack boats. That's how this car was stored, and it was stored for years. Now, it's a very interesting story about this car, so I'm going to take my time. I'm going to tell you about it. I'm going to tell you about the 375 horse convertibles, and I'm going to tell you why these cars are so rare. And I'm also going to tell you right now that this is one of the rarest muscle cars that were ever built, period. So I'm going to now get involved in it, and we can go through this car. But I want to give you a little bit of history about these cars. I had the first L-78 convertible that actually turned up in the late 80s. I found the car in 1988. A friend of mine down in Tennessee had found the car back in the mountains, believe it or not, and we knew what it was, and it took 10 months basically to get the car, and it was sitting under a pine tree on top of a mountain. That car took almost 3 years to restore. This is not the situation with this car, because this car is mostly an original car with cosmetics that have been done to it. This is a 70,000 mile car. This car is phantom blue, white top, white interior, but we'll get to that a little bit later. I want to tell you a little bit more about the history of the L-78 convertibles and why they are so rare. When I started doing research on these cars in the late 80s, there was none to compare to. So you have to get a car, and you have to get it out there in circulation, and you have to find out a little bit more about it in terms of how many more were produced, so on and so forth. One of the things that I can say that makes this car so rare is in 1970, GM had a strike. So a lot of cars were mid-year production cars because of that strike. A lot of things were going to change after January 1st of 1970. All of the new model year cars always came out in the fall. So a lot of your 70 Chevelle was a new exciting line. It was totally different than the 69. So that car had quite a bit of hype, and they were sending out a lot of the promo kits to the dealers all over the United States. Now, Chevrolet had the LS6 that was going to come out. They knew that. They were going to make it available January 15th. They tried to keep that a little bit quiet because in the beginning, because they wanted to get their high horse 396, 375 horse motors gone. I think they had something like 2100, 2200 L-78s motors that they needed to get dropped down into cars. So what they wound up doing was, in some cases, and through my research, that's how I found this out about the L-78 convertibles, they were not necessarily a customer ordered car, even though the build sheet would say that. They were engines and combinations that were put together from the factory and installed in the cars and shipped out to their dealers through their dealer network. When a dealer would order a 70 Chevelle convertible, if they might have gotten 2 or 3, occasionally these cars were slipped into that order so that the dealer got it and he had to sell it. That was a way that they were getting rid of the 375 horse engines. Very important, because they knew that as soon as they launched the LS6 454, 450 horse, they could forget about the 375. No one would want it. Now, I will tell you again, the 396, 375 horse engine, and we've said this and we've talked about it in some of our other videos, and I'm going to go over it now. It's very important that you know this so that you understand too. When these engines, the 375, first came out in 1965, they were put in the Corvette, Biscayne, and Z16 Chevelles. They were rated then at 425 horsepower. In 1966, they put them in the Chevelle line completely, and they were rated at 375 horse, but they re-rated them. They didn't change anything, they just re-rated them for insurance purposes. What is so special about a 396 375 versus a 396 350 horse? Big difference. The 350 horse was not a 4-bolt main. The 350 horse didn't have the same heads that this one did. This one had steel forged crank, forged pistons. It was 11-to-1 compression. It had aluminum intake factory, which in 70 incidentally was the same intake that was used on the LS6, and I'll tell you why they had to do that. That's because of the cowl induction on the 70 Chevelle. And they have solid lifter cams and Holley carburetor. So it's a whole different animal than the 350 horse. This was basically a balanced blueprinted race motor from the factory. They're very underrated at 375 horsepower. And these cars, you do a little work to them. When you're out on the street, if you're a street racer back in the day of the muscle car era, these cars were very potent street race cars that people would get into and just have a 396 badge on it and run the car, and it did just phenomenal on the street. They were great cars to get into street races and race for money. So now, anyway, talking about the 375 horse convertible again, one of the reasons why there was so few of these cars built was because of that fact. They were getting rid of the 375 horse motors. They had to redesign the intake, which I was talking to you about a little bit, the same intake that goes on the LS6. The 569 intake had to be lower than the medium high rise of 69 and all the prior years so that they could put the carburetor and the air cleaner for the cowl induction that would fit into the hood. So that's why the 375 in that respect is different, because it had a different intake than it was in the years prior to that. It had the same intake as the LS6. Now all of these cars, and there are 6 known to exist today, and I'm going to go over the history of those and tell you what I know about them. All of these cars were built in the fall of 1969. They were delivered to the dealerships prior to December of 1969, right before 1970, because on the 15th of January, the LS6 454 450 horse came out. Now, I want to make another point here, and I know a lot of the people out there who may own these cars are going to say to me, oh, no, no, no. For years and years and years, people always had this common knowledge thing that was going around basically on the rumor mill that there was 18 LS6 convertibles built. It's not true. That's BS. For the past 15 years, I've seen a lot of LS6 convertibles that are out there. And these are cars that have paperwork. These are cars that are numbers. And I know there's a lot of counterfeit ones out there too. But they do not prove themselves out to be as rare as the 396, 375 horse high horse car, and they never will, because these are absolutely cars that were a few handfuls made. We don't know for sure how many was made, but right now today there's 6 that is known. And after everybody has turned up every garage and you know, turned over every stone in the world right now over the past 10, 12 years, since people have started to learn about the hobby and rare cars, there hasn't been many of these that popped up. This is the last one out of the 6 that has popped up, but I knew about this car years ago. It was a friend of mine that owns this car here in Chicago. And he is one of those people that saw ahead down the road in terms of getting rare cars and putting them away. He always wanted me to keep this car under my hat, so to speak. And he approached me back in the fall of last year, and I've sold cars for him off and on over the past 10 years or so. And he said, Tony, I'm at the point where I'm going to sell my L-78 convertible. So I was the one that was selected to do the honors of being able to get this car to you, which it is here now. It took us a while, like I said, to get it done, but it's just a gorgeous car, and it is very unique, and it is absolutely a one-of-one as it was produced, and we'll get into that. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. Getting back to the LS6 convertibles, it's hard to say because there is no one out there that's really keeping track of real build sheets for LS6s. And it doesn't mean either that the car may have been built, it may not have a build sheet. If you're familiar with Arlington, Texas plants, a lot of cars that were produced there didn't have build sheets. Very few. I had one LS6 that was a Hugger Orange car that was produced there. That was in the center spread of Muscle Car Review, the last issue that was on the newsstands. If you read that magazine, you'll remember that car. I was involved in the sale of that car 2 times. But that car was built in Arlington, Texas plant. Not very many of the cars that were built down there had build sheets. Janesville, Wisconsin, there was no cars that were built that are known so much with build sheets. It was more common that you get your Baltimore, Leeds plant in Kansas City, Atlanta, and some in Fremont that had build sheets. So you're not always guaranteed that if you have a 70 Chevelle, you're going to find a build sheet. So let's make that clear. But it makes it even harder to determine without a build sheet if the car was in fact built, because we can't go back and get the records from Chevy like we can Pontiac from Pontiac Historical. So we need a build sheet. Right now, I have in front of me 6 build sheets. All of these 6 build sheets are here are from all of the known 375 horse convertibles. Now, in the years that I've been doing this, and it's 26 years right now, I've never came out and said I profess to be an expert. I probably know more than most because of the cars that I've dealt with, but you know what? I don't know everything. And I've always told people that I don't know the answer to everything, but I know a lot. I grew up with these kind of cars, and I started in business in 1978 selling nothing but muscle cars, and I'm still doing it today, and I just turned 50 a few days ago.
Happy birthday to you.
I made it for a while. Anyway, I want to say that with these 6 cars, I personally owned 3 of the 6 cars. Okay, and I have the build sheets here. I have the build sheets to the other 3 cars, copies of them. I'm not talking about the originals. We have the original for this particular car, but I have copies of all of these. So I know what there is to know about these cars. And like I said, being that I've had 3 cars out of the 6, and now I'm selling number 6 for my friend, that puts me involved with 4 of these cars. So I guess that would make me an expert of some sort, huh Jeremy?
Yeah.
A little bit. So this car is unique, and each one of them they're unique cars because they were built with the same combination: 375 4-speed 355 posi, no automatics, no 373, no 411. They were 355. All of them except for the silver one that I owned and sold a few years ago. All of them were bench seat cars. The silver one was a bucket seat car with a lot of options. It was the most optioned Cortez Silver 375 convertible that was in the group of the 6. Now, what makes this car unique out of the other ones? This car is a Phantom Blue, and there is one more L-78 convertible that was Phantom Blue, but it was black top, blue in. This one is white top, white in. But this one has some good options on it. It has power steering. It also has power windows, has 3-spoke wheel. It has AMA track, low windshield, indicator monitor, factory tacking gauges, cowl induction. So it's got some great options on it, and as this car is equipped and with the color combination, it is absolutely, right now today, undisputed, unless somebody comes up and says, here's another one, this is the only one that was ever built like this. Facts, not fiction, and I'm not daydreaming. I've been doing this for a long time, and this is the only one, period. So the other ones that were involved in this group of 6, I owned myself, 3-time black car. Black on black, bench seat, 4-speed, 375, 355 posi. And that car was striped elite, low options, nothing on it. And that came out of the mountains of Tennessee, where we found it back in the late 80s. And that's the one that I said in the beginning when we were talking about them. That took us almost 3 years to restore. Now, the other one that I was involved with and I had was a white 396, 375 horse convertible, black stripes, black in. But that car was built similar to the triple black Chevelle because it was a white car, no stripe, black top, black end, bench seat, 4-speed 355, tack gauges, no other options on it. That car was built at Leeds plant in Kansas City. The triple black L-78 convertible was built at the Leeds plant in Kansas City, and these were built in October 1969. And the silver one that I had here personally, which was a super rare car, was built also in Kansas City. That was shipped to a dealer in Iowa. That car was a bucket seat car, which was the only one out of the group of the L-78 convertibles. It was a power window car tilt, engine block heater, extremely rare, low windshield indicator monitor, factory tacking gauges, hood and deck stripe with the hood pin kit, and Cal induction. So that car was the rarest L-78 in terms of the options. But again, each one of these cars are unique because there were so few of them that each one really is a one of one, but it's out of a group of 6 that are known today. But this car is very unique in the fact that out of the group of 6, they're all 4 speeds, okay? The other 5 cars all had M21s in it. This one was built with an M20. It's right on the build sheet. This car was built at the Fremont plant. There's a big difference there because of what they do with the build sheets. They're a lot more documented at the Fremont plant than they are Kansas City or Baltimore, which is number 5 L-78 convertible was built in Baltimore. And that particular car was restored. It's changed hands several times, and it belongs to a collector here in Chicago right now, and I've seen the car after the restoration was done. That is a red L-78 375 horse convertible. But now this particular car was the only one built in Fremont. The red one was built in Baltimore. All the other 4 ones were built at the Leeds plant in Kansas City. Now, it's very interesting to me when I've seen a lot of build sheets for Chevelles, the difference in them. And I've seen them from all over the plants that were produced in 1970. And what I've always noticed for any build sheet that I've ever got from a car that was built from Fremont, they fill it out along the bottom. And I'm going to hold one up here so that Jeremy can kind of show you as a comparison if you can see what I'm talking about. Down at the bottom where it says engine, it's filled out. It says engine number KO, axle number KF. And if you notice on the Leeds plant in the same line, there is no, it's not filled out. Also, what's kind of unique about most of the cars that I've had that had a build sheet from Fremont, California, if you notice up at the bottom here in the boxes, they have AC labels, which are AC. That's their product line, right? And they have 396, 375 horse. None of the other plants ever put that in the box. None. So it makes this car very unique because it is different. It's different than all of the other ones because here's the one from Baltimore plant. It was built and it doesn't have any of those boxes filled out either on the bottom. And it also does not have the AC labels saying the 396, 375 horse. So that's very, very unique. All of them do say in the option listing L-78 V8 396 high perf, which stands for high performance engine. That's on all of them. So this car is very, very unique. This car is extremely rare. This is the only known L-78 convertible that was built in this color combination. It has power windows, and another thing that I didn't mention, you know, because I'm talking about a lot of information here, is this car has map pockets. And I'll tell you what, Jeremy, I've never seen another car, for example, that was done Chevelle-wise with map pockets on it. And what's cool about the map pockets is that, Jeremy will show you this when he opens up the door, they're in formed plastic, but they have big Chevy bow ties that were molded inside the map pocket doors where you can see them. It's really cool. So that's a rare, rare option. And so this car is very unique from the standpoint of some of the options that it's had. It also has the option. Anyway, now 1970 Chevelle, when they ordered them, they specified one automatic, one 4-speed. They didn't say anything about 375 horse engine or anything, but they wound up getting a 396, 375 horse, 4-speed triple black one. That was the black one that I had, and the other one that came into them was a Phantom Blue, black top, black interior car that was an automatic, but it was a 350 horse. So this is just boilerplate ordering from the dealership, and that's what they got. But this dealership that the black L-78 convertible was shipped to in Oneida, Tennessee, at Terry Motor Company, was a very small dealership. They had maybe a 3-car showroom, so it wasn't like they could pull any strings to get anything. This Chevelle was just produced and put out. So I think from my research, what I'm trying to get to the point across here is that probably the 375 horse engines that were there, the higher ups in Chevrolet knew that they were going to come out with the LS6, and when they did, no one would want to buy the 375, so they needed to get rid of it. So they were putting these out in some of the Chevelles. Most of the ones came out in the hard tops, so that when we're dealing with fall, nobody's really thinking about buying a convertible in the fall, so they wanted to get these out and get rid of them. So a few of these got these engines put in from the factory. Wasn't anything that somebody walked in and said, I want to order this. It's just that the factory put them out in a few cars. That's one of the reasons why there's so few of these, and because of the second fact that the LS6 454 450 horse was available on January 15th. You really wanted a high horse car, most people probably waited. So that is a little bit of the history of these cars. I will say with the 18 build LS6 myth, and I'm going to call it a myth, I've seen probably 4 to 5 times that number in the past 10 to 12 years that had paperwork with them that were for sale and were numbers matched cars. So there could be as many as 200 LS6 convertibles that were built in 1970. This is truly the rarest of all the high horse Chevelle convertibles that were ever built, and it's ever going to be on the planet. Now Jeremy's going to take a little bit of time and go around and show you this car. The pollution pump is intact. A lot of the integrity of this car was left the way it was. It was just cosmetically brought back up from sitting for all the years that it had been. So this is not a full frame-up restoration. This is not a body-off restoration. This is primarily a 70,000-mile original car. We didn't want to get in and reskin the whole interior because it's got original interior in it. It's not perfect, but it's not bad either. It's very nice. It's a beautiful car. All the glass, all the chrome, all the stainless, everything is in excellent shape. The paint on it, the car was repainted one time. But this is all original body panels, original spackles in the trunk. The firewall still has some of the factory correct markings on it. To give you an example, the prior owner, who I've known for years, one of the reasons why it took us so long to get this car done, to give you an example, he would not buy repop valve covers for this car, and they needed to be replated, so he sent them out. It took 8 weeks to 9 weeks to get them back from his vendor, the plater, because he wanted the original valve covers put back on this car. So that's the way he was. That's the reason why it took so long to get this car done. That's the reason why we're showing it to you now in mid-May instead of mid-January, because the car was not going to be rushed. It was going to be done right, and right it is. Now, before I turn you over to Jeremy, I want to point out one more thing to you about these cars. Jeremy, if you could kind of go up here to the front by the headlight housings. I want you to see this little chrome strip that's here at the bottom. Now that little chrome strip was known right now that pretty much was produced at the Atlanta plant for the early 1970 Chevelles, but now this car was built in Fremont. That's the way this car came. So now we're finding out something a little bit different about Chevelles that we didn't know before. Not all the Chevelles have this. So it was common knowledge, if you're really into your Chevelles, that they only produced them in early production of the 70 Chevelles, and they were done at the Atlanta plant. So here's one that is from Fremont that's got these on it. So I think that's pretty cool. Now, I have documentation with this car too. Like I said, we have the original build sheet, but what I'm going to let someone have, and it'll be the only person that's ever got this information that's going to have it all. The person that buys this car is going to get copies of all of these. So you'll be the only person on the planet that owns an L-78 convertible that has all the information about all 6 of these cars that are known to exist today. So anyway, I'm going to turn you over to Jeremy. If you want to get any more information, give Ed a call at 847-526-5950. He can answer all your questions, and he can fax you a copy of the build sheet, but we're not going to give you the information on the other ones. That's privileged information for the new owner of this car only. So that's the way it's going to be. So anyway, I'm going to turn you over to Jeremy. He's going to go around this car and he's going to show it to you, and trust me, it's a gorgeous car. You need to personally come here. I don't care where you live, you need to come here and see this car, because this is a true piece of GM history. 1970 SS 396 375 horse L-78 4-speed Chevelle Phantom Blue convertible, white top, white interior. Only one known to exist and made as this car was equipped.
All right, bow tie fans, we've been waiting for this one for quite a while, since pretty close to the end of last year. And you know something? I think it was well worth the wait. This thing is incredible. Let's go for a walk around. Sorry about the bright lights, but without them you couldn't see this paint job. Now, while we're at the front of the car, let's pop the hood. I wonder if I can do this one-handed. I cheated. All right. Functional cowl induction. And there's the solenoid that opens the plate that lets the air in. Beautiful. Power brakes. And under the hood light, but we have the bulb removed because the thing would be on and run the battery down. I'm going to flip back and forth between night shot here to get some more detail. Spectacular. Incredible. Wow, this has the pollution stuff there, that's for sure. There's the old air pump. There's that little valve they had. I'm not quite sure how it works, but it's all integral in the pollution control system. They bitch about it when it's not there. Beautiful. I can't see any faults with this thing whatsoever. It's everything I've seen so far is just immaculate. Beautiful. The chrome is perfect. Grills, emblems. Focus. There we are. And that's me The SS rims with Goodyear Polyglass F70 14s. Chrome extensions on the exhaust, immaculate. The SS in the bumper. Let's look at that stripe on the back. Handles are beautiful, just like brand new. Someone spent a heck of a whole lot of time working on this. Let's go for a look on the inside. Okay, let's do a little night shot here. 70K on the odometer. Tach. Ammeter. Temperature. Gas gauge. Clock. The Chevrolet 8-track. Top, up and down. This is all in night shot, so we don't have the color here. I have to get some lights on this subject. Well, let's take a look at the map pocket here, like Tony was saying. There's the map pocket on the door with the bow tie. And right here, we've got the SS on the door. On the other side, we need some more illumination here, guys. We're gonna get it. Presto changeo, we've got light. You can see. There's a bow tie for you. Now, let's check out this thing on the inside. Carpet's immaculate. You can actually see the Chevy AM 8-track. AM 8-track, what a concept. It says cold there, but I don't think there's any compressor up front. Well, sure looks pretty original. Nice new boot though. Let's look in the back. Pristine for original seats. These things are great. The top is great. The back window is perfect. I'm still waiting to see all these little imperfections that are supposed to be in these seats. They're supposed to be original. Anyway, let's go check out the trunk. Also, beautiful and immaculate. Light shot. Rubber's brand new, just like it was from the factory. What an amazing car, guys. Check it out. L-78 Ragtop Super Sport.